Ready?
Yep.
Aloha, it's Robert with Blue Planet Surf, and I'm here today with Jeff Chang.
Hello.
Jeff and I have been coaching a training group for a long time, and I wanted to try something new, just doing a kind of video Zoom call that we can post on YouTube. So I want to try doing that, like conversations with different people about the sports I love. Probably mostly it's going to be about stand-up paddling and wing foiling. Going to try to get different people in. And if you have any ideas or comments, just leave a comment down below on YouTube, and we'll use those, and we'll have those Zoom meetings open to the public too. So if you want to join in the future and ask questions, and we'll probably have guests and a panel to answer questions. So it should be fun. Looking forward to it. But today we have a video of our coaching group, which was last Wednesday, just a couple of days ago. And I'm going to share my screen here and show some of the video from that coaching group. And Jeff, maybe you can maybe make some comments on what you see in the video. So this is our coaching group.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is Brad and Sean. They're both seasoned paddlers. They've been paddling for many years, and they're coming to the training group pretty consistently, especially Brad. So their strokes are, you know, they race and everything, so their strokes are pretty good. And what we're going to be talking about is pretty much just subtle refinements. I mean, we're almost nitpicking now in terms of their stroke because they both have pretty good form. If we look at Brad here, you can see he has a nice catch. But then one thing Rob and I noticed was that he doesn't get a full blade until a little later in the stroke, right about there. And he could benefit by initially driving the paddle straight down instead of pulling back, and then engaging the full paddle earlier to be more efficient. So, but Brad is a long distance specialist, and, you know, sometimes, you know, for long distance guys, I mean, he does Molokai, he does marathons and this and that. Not getting a full paddle stroke all the way, all the time is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, all the paddle things aren't necessarily bad, just whatever works. So for example,
obviously Brad kind of proved that. I mean, he's paddled the Molokai race, I think like 8 or 10 times or something.
Right.
And so he's definitely put in the distance. And but yeah, it's little things that could maybe improve efficiency, right?
Right. But Brad, so for example, the guy who paddled across the Atlantic Ocean, he barely dips his paddle in the water, you know. So, and it's because it's long distance, and you want to go more reps and less effort over days and weeks. So Brad's kind of the similar, I mean, it could be that's the thing about Brad, a similar thing. But we should let him know that maybe drive the paddle down. For proper textbook technique, you would first move on the catches, drive the paddle straight down and get it all the way up to the neck, and then start to pull. So that requires you bend a little more at the waist at the front of stroke. But otherwise, his stroke looks pretty good. A lot of the stroke of his stroke is the paddle's backwards. So in other words, the paddle's at the blade is facing toward the sky during most of the stroke, which is theoretically less efficient, but, you know, canoe paddlers do that a lot, and put the strength in the back of the stroke. So there's no real wrong way to do it, but it'd be kind of nice if he maybe kept the paddle shaft vertical for a tad longer before it goes to the blade facing up. So you see the blade starts to face up relatively early, even before it reaches his feet. It's kind of nice if you can have the paddle shaft vertical for a little bit longer. But otherwise, Brad's stroke is really nice. It's super efficient. So Sean here, we're looking at Sean, and kind of similar thing. His paddle effort is a little further back. So he enters the water not that far forward, fairly far forward, but then a lot of the effort is from the legs back. So if you watch Robert later, you'll notice his paddle stroke is way more forward relative to his feet. He's kind of done when he reaches his feet. But Sean, he has a nice twist, so he's getting the paddle up there. It doesn't look like his body's twisting, but he definitely rotates his shoulders. So that's kind of nice. He gets the blade going forward, way forward there. You see that? And then he has the blade vertical for a while before it hits his feet. So Sean has a nice stroke.
What about his rhythm? I've noticed like he has a little pause at the end of this when he exits, but then he has a quick recovery. So
yeah, which is okay. And then yeah, that's actually ideal. A little pause at the end to get the glide, but then a quick recovery. That's super important for any stroke. Is when your paddle's in the air, it's not doing anything. So you want to do it quickly. But we're remarking that his stance is kind of low during the whole stroke. So during that end of the stroke, when he's recovering, he might benefit from rising up. Like if you watch Rob later, he rise up and like get some momentum going forward with your hips, and that will maximize the glide a little more.
Plus, it's easier on your lower back, I think, if you straighten out a little bit more instead of having kind of the hunched forward the whole time.
Right, you can rest a little bit at that pause, but the key there is you quickly to get this paddle back forward again after you're done. But overall, Sean's stroke again is pretty nice. He's using his legs and his hips driving with that, which is your power source. So both these guys, they've been paddling a long time, many miles, so they're pretty efficient at this point. And Brad's fast. I mean, I have a hard time keeping up with him a lot of the time. So, he's definitely a fast paddler.
And who are we to say what the right and wrong way is, right?
Right.
Individual thing, really.
Right.
But what I find also is really helpful is just having video of yourself, like even, when you started filming and I can watch myself on video, I find that really helpful because a lot of times what you're doing is not exactly what you think you're doing. So.
Right. So here we got all three paddling, and this is a good comparison. You can see Rob, whose stroke is, of course, perfect. But Rob is, of all of us, he's probably the fastest, so there's something to that.
I would say I'm always trying to improve my stroke, and I definitely don't think I have a perfect stroke, and actually that's why I like to watch it. And I kind of, for the first time I noticed it, I kind of do this funny thing with my back where I kind of bend my back as I'm leaning forward and then have my back straight at the end or the beginning of the stroke, I guess. I straighten my back and then I curve it. And I never really noticed that I do that before until I watched this video. So it's really helpful, I think, to watch yourself and realize what you're doing,
Yeah, that's the only way to really see what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like I kind of little wave with my back.
Right. Compared to Sean and Brad, Rob's stroke emphasis is more forward in front of his legs. So theoretically, that's a little more efficient. See, he's done by the time he reaches his feet. Yeah. But you can see good rotation, even with the hips, driving with the legs, up and down motion with the upper body. So you can see he's trying to, at the end of the stroke, he's lifting up and propelling himself forward, maximizing the glide. He's getting a good early catch. So driving the paddle down, getting the full blade pretty early in the stroke. Yeah, you can see that. The catch is one of the most important parts of the stroke. Without the good catch, clean water, it's nice to be able to paddle slowly to practice that and just make your paddle enter cleanly without any bubbles. Make sure it's in clear water and then pull. That's a really good drill to practice. And then you can speed it up. But all that practice when you're going slow, it really helps when you're going at full speed. And this is a good thing, side by side, Rob and Sean, you can see the difference in their strokes. So you can see how much farther back Sean pulls compared to Rob. And then the difference in also the difference in the body motions, how much further down Rob goes and up in relation to Sean is a little more static. So this dynamic motion, engaging the core muscles, the stomach, everything definitely helps with more power, I think.
So something that I've been focusing on is like as my hand comes back, I try to bring my hip forward before the paddle exits the water to kind of drive the momentum forward. So I'm going to try to, like, before my paddle comes out of the water, I try to already bring my hip forward. You can see me here. And just bringing, kind of being more upright, I think helps with getting a little bit of rest in between the strokes. You know, if you just always leaning forward, you don't give your back a rest. So coming more upright really helps, I think, with that. What do you think about her technique?
Pretty good. But that's a kind of counterintuitive thing, driving your hips while you're still pulling back, because the natural tendency is to keep your hip driving back while you're pulling back. But if you can drive forward early, like Rob's saying, you can, that's the thing where you're moving your body past the paddle. That's actually a Larry Kane drill, is to, you know, former Olympian and really strong paddler, is to, as the paddle's moving past you, to actually move your hips forward. So you're locking the paddle into the water and then driving your body past it. And the emphasis there is on the hip, which is, you know, the power, where a lot of your power, most of your power should come from.
And then yeah, I try to get the paddle in the water pretty quickly before I start to pull on it. Like here you can see that my blade is fully planted, and then I try to apply the power.
Right, and you can see the flex in the paddle.
Pulls it in while he's pulling it back at the same time.
Right. So that's good technique right there. And you can see the recovery, nice. You can't see, his video is a little hard to see, but the recovery is quick. And it's also low to the water. That's another thing that's important, low to the water and feathered. So that's more efficient. So a lot of times we see, especially beginner paddlers, the recovery is high off the water and it's not feathered. So they bring the paddle straight forward instead of turning it to the side. And it requires more effort from your arms to do that. So that's another, all these little things, they add up. So when you're paddling a race or whatever, training or Molokai channel, thousands of repetitions, those things definitely make a difference if you can correct or improve them.
Yeah, and that's a good way to improve your efficiency, is just doing it a lot, I think, and then finding your own way, best way it works for your body mechanics and so on. But yeah, we paddled out to Port Lock and back, and then had a beautiful sunset. So we do that every Wednesday here on Oahu. You can join us send out an email, and also join the Facebook group Oahu Downwind Paddlers. Of course, right now with the pandemic, it's a little bit harder to do. We can't do the downwinders, but I mean, paddling in the time trials is still fine. So we do it socially distanced, and I think it's very safe. Actually, one of the best ways to exercise. So you're all welcome to join us. And then in the meantime, we'll do more of these kind of virtual coaching type things too, which is hopefully helpful. Yeah. And thanks for joining, Jeff, being there. And thank you, Brad and Sean, for letting us post your technique and criticize you online. But yeah. I definitely don't agree with Jeff that my stroke is perfect. I always try to improve it, you know, and I actually sometimes think it looks funny, you know. I think I look funny when I'm watching myself. So. And I don't know, Jeff, do you feel that way too? Sometimes when you watch yourself, it doesn't look the same you think it does.
Yeah, it doesn't look different than what I think it does, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, getting a buddy to video you is always a good idea. And then maybe that's something we could do too, is let different people, maybe we can have a virtual coaching where people can post their videos of themselves paddling, and we can help them maybe with their stroke technique and stuff like that. And so if you have any questions or, and then next week I'm going to try to do a Zoom meeting about wing foiling. And if you're interested in joining, I'll have a link in the description down below for that meeting. I think it will be next week, Friday. So join us if you can, and we'll do more of these in the future. All right. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for watching, everyone. Aloha.